Well, here to tell us more about the low pressure system that's bringing days of unsettling weather to the Northeast is meteorologist Hannah Sheehy. Hi, Hannah.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good.
We are talking about a pretty slow-moving low-pressure system, and they act pretty differently, of course, than fast-moving low-pressure systems, which is what we typically see here in the Northeast. We're not getting our typical kind of warm front moves through, then the cold front. They're both bringing kind of different things. This is different. The low-pressure core itself is tracking just to our south, and that's what's going to be bringing days of unsettled weather, and I have kind of the science behind it all right here for you so we can kind of understand why this is happening. So low pressure in itself is an area of rising air. Warm air will rise, it'll cool and condense and turn into clouds. That's what happens pretty much every day here, but we do see low pressure kind of a little bit more intensely instead of just like some pop-up cumulus clouds. Typically, this low pressure is going to bring a big swath of cloud cover, and if there's moisture present, of course, we're going to get the rain, snow in the winter, and if there's instability in the air, we get the chance for thunderstorms too. So let's talk about what's happening at upper levels. So we've kind of got this traffic jam that's kind of backed up right now, and it's called an omega block. I talked about it earlier this year, but the jet stream is shaped in the Greek letter omega right now, and that acts as a pretty slow moving system. It's kind of just, backed up, where we've got high pressure down in our central part of the U.S. We've got low pressure to the northeast, and then low pressure up towards Alaska as well. And that's going to act as that traffic block pattern, and it's going to sit over us and is sitting over us for several days here. As you can see, we kind of zoomed forward 24 hours. We're still kind of in this low pressure pattern. That's going to stay with us through at least Friday, and it just brings that kind of continuous unsettled weather pattern just with the nature of how that jet stream is set up. We're in what's called a trough. And in that base of the trough is when we typically see low pressure and that wet, rainy weather. So I wanted to show you guys this as well. This is from the Climate Prediction Center. It is the soil moisture change since June 30th. And if you guys recall, June was a wet month for us. We got several inches of rain across the course of a month. And in July, it's been hot and dry. So this is the percentile change in our soil moisture since June 30th through the 27th, which was 2 days ago, I believe, at this point. And you can see that we are 30 to 60% drier than we were in June. So of course, when you have that soil moisture that is so dry, it kind of acts like a dry sponge. And if you put a dry sponge under the faucet, it's going to take a minute before it can fully absorb that water. That's kind of how our ground behaves when it is so dry. So I wanted to kind of break down the difference between a fast-moving storm and a slow-moving storm. And of course, it depends on the intensity of the low pressure itself. But typically in a fast-moving storm, we can get a couple of inches in a few hours, which was going to, more runoff is definitely possible with that, which is going to lead to more possible flash flooding. But with a slow-moving storm, we're getting 1 to 2 inches in a couple of days. Of course, it depends on the intensity, but that leads us to have better ground infiltration, which leads to better drought relief, which is really what we saw across the month of June too, the better drought relief that we saw with the rain. But with this system in particular, places like New York right now are getting slammed with more rain than we are currently, and it's because of where the low pressure is tracking. It's currently just to our south and west across places like Connecticut and southern New York, and that's leaving them with a lot of rain because it's where the core of that low pressure is, and it's moving so slowly that places near Albany have been able to pick up over 8 inches of rain in the last 24 hours. And luckily for us, we are kind of in the situation where we're dealing with more of the outer rain bands of this low pressure system that are going to be moving through our area later today. And that's going to leave us with less rainfall, but it's still going to be a slow moving storm. And that's why they're kind of hard to predict too, because slow moving storms, when their track changes, several miles, it will change what ends up happening with us too. You can kind of think of it as a hurricane, not that dramatic, but hurricane will change its track for over the course of a day, and that's going to severely impact where it makes landfall, who gets the largest amount of rain. So that's a low pressure system. It's kind of a lot like what's happening here, but of course not a hurricane. Shouldn't have probably said that, but yeah. So
Yeah, no hurricanes on the way. But, you know, your analogy of the dry sponge, I really appreciate that. It helped me visualize how the ground is absorbing versus like if it's a rush of rain.
Yep. Exactly. If we get a bunch of rain all at once, we're going to see more runoff into our streams and rivers, and that can lead to flooding. Whereas we're getting rain over several days, which hopefully is going to help the ground soak
And
it
that's
up.
what we're seeing in the Albany area that I saw 8.5 inches of rain. Another community 10 inches.
Too much rain.
Man, it's too much
That's
in
too much, yeah.
short a time. Yeah.
Exactly. If you have any weather-related questions you'd like to ask, just scan the QR code on your screen and click on Weather Authority. There you can leave us a question, and you might see them answered on air.
Thanks, Hannah. I learn something new every day.